Have you ever wondered why God focuses on shaping you before revealing the one meant for you? Why he takes his time adjusting the details of your destiny before allowing your heart to intertwine with another? It's because divine love isn't built on passion first, it's built on purpose. Passion can ignite quickly, but purpose sustains what emotion cannot. Before God sends you the love of your life, he ensures your foundation is secure. He teaches you to stand, to serve, and to trust him even when you feel unseen. Because the person he's preparing for you is not meant to complete your story, they're meant to continue it. Love is not supposed to become your purpose, it's supposed to flow from it. This is why God slows you down before he speeds things up. He isolates you to heal your patterns, redirects your energy from seeking to becoming. He replaces your longing with learning, your impatience with intention. And when your heart begins to anchor in his will, he whispers, "Now you're ready to love without losing yourself." The truth is, passion without purpose fades, but purpose turns passion into partnership. The right person will not pull you away from your calling, they'll protect it. They won't drain your faith, they'll deepen it. They won't replace God in your life, they'll remind you of him. So if it feels like nothing is happening right now, remember, heaven never rushes what it intends to last. God is aligning your steps, refining your desires, and ensuring that when love arrives, it finds you whole, not half. Before God gives you a person, he gives you perspective, because love that begins with purpose will always outlast passion. If this truth speaks to you, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. Like this message to help it reach someone else waiting for divine alignment. And comment below. What purpose do you feel God is preparing in you before love arrives? Before alignment comes silence, and not the kind that feels peaceful, but the kind that feels endless. There will be a moment when the prayers that once brought answers now echo into stillness. The people you once leaned on grow distant. The familiar rhythm of your life quiets, and you begin to wonder if God has forgotten you. But this silence is not punishment, it's preparation. It is the divine pause where healing begins. You see, the silence of God is never empty. It's filled with unseen activity, quiet correction, and sacred renewal. God removes the noise because he knows you can't hear his voice when you're surrounded by constant validation. The silence teaches you to listen differently, not for what you want to hear, but for what you need to understand. In the stillness, the heart begins to detox from everything that distorted its rhythm, the false hopes, the old attachments, the fears that kept you chasing instead of resting. God uses silence like a surgeon uses a scalpel, precisely, intentionally, cutting away what no longer belongs. He slows you down so your spirit can finally catch up to his pace. It's in this quiet season that the heart begins to rebuild its strength. You start to discover that peace doesn't depend on presence and love doesn't require noise. You learn to find comfort in your own company and to hear God in ways you never could before. The silence becomes a sanctuary, the place where your wounds meet his wisdom. And here's the truth, God's silence is not his absence. It's his way of healing you without distraction. While you feel nothing happening, heaven is restoring your ability to receive love without fear and give love without losing yourself. So don't rush through the quiet. Let it do its holy work. The silence that once felt heavy will soon become holy ground. The space where your heart is made whole again, ready for the love that aligns with heaven's design. Before God brings the right person into your life, he often draws you into a sacred isolation. A season where distractions disappear, connections fade, and you're left alone with your own reflection. It feels uncomfortable at first, even cruel, but isolation is not abandonment, it's alignment. It is the sacred workshop of heaven where your motives are purified, your expectations refined, and your intentions made holy. In this divine solitude, God begins to separate what you want from what you need. He shows you how much of your desire for love came from emptiness rather than readiness. You start to realize that much of what you once called connection was just the fear of being alone. So he takes away the noise, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because real love cannot be built on need. It must be born out of wholeness. God uses isolation as a mirror. It reflects every unhealed wound, every misplaced craving, every hidden idol. You begin to see how often you've made love your savior, expecting people to fill the spaces only his presence can. And in that realization, a shift happens. Dependency turns into devotion. The ache for validation transforms into a hunger for truth. This is where your character deepens, where you learn to stay when nothing feels certain, to worship without witnesses, to trust without outcomes. God teaches you to love without conditions, not because of what someone gives you, but because of what he has already given. The isolation becomes holy ground, the place where divine intimacy is born. When the right person finally appears, you'll recognize them not by excitement, but by peace. You'll no longer be driven by fear of losing, because you've already found everything you need in him. That's the beauty of isolation. It breaks every illusion that you need to be seen to be significant. So don't despise this season. It's not a delay, it's a detox. God is cleansing your heart of every false motive so that when love comes, it won't be built on wounds, it will be built on worship. There comes a point in your waiting where God seems silent, heaven feels still, and your heart starts to question, have I been forgotten? But this moment, the stretch between promise and fulfillment, is not abandonment. It's refinement. God doesn't test your patience to frustrate you. He tests it to form you. Because only through waiting does your faith grow strong enough to sustain what you've prayed for. The trials that test your patience are sacred in disguise. They strip away the illusions of control and reveal the truth of trust. You cannot rush what God intends to last forever. Every delay is deliberate, every pause purposeful. God allows time to become your teacher so that your heart learns endurance and your spirit learns stillness. In this season, he may ask you to release your timelines, to stop comparing your path to others, to rest in his sovereignty. You'll watch people receive things you've been praying for, and you'll wonder why your turn hasn't come. Yet, the deeper your roots of patience grow, the greater your capacity to carry. Blessing without breaking. Patience refines your love by purging it of panic. It teaches you that peace is not found in getting what you want, but in trusting who God is. When you finally surrender to his timing, the waiting stops being torment. It becomes transformation. You begin to understand that every not yet was his way of saying, I'm still preparing you. The truth is, God's promises aren't delayed, they're developing. He's not withholding, he's weaving, he's orchestrating details. You can't see, aligning hearts and crafting a story too perfect to rush. So when your faith feels stretched thin, remember, the same God who made the promise is the one preparing you to receive it. Don't despise the delay, let it define you. Because the blessing that comes after refinement is not fragile, it's fortified by patience. Comment, I trust God's process. Before God connects you with the love destined for your life, he must first heal the way you see yourself. Because if you don't know your worth, you will always settle for less than what he has prepared. The healing of self-image is one of the most delicate works of heaven. Not because it happens quickly, but because it requires unlearning everything the world has taught you about love and value. For years, you may have defined yourself through the eyes of others, their approval, affection, or attention. You mistook being wanted for being worthy. But God's love is not built on performance, it's built on presence. He doesn't love you because of what you do. He loves you because of who you are, His creation, His reflection, His chosen vessel. So He begins the sacred work of restoration. He removes the labels you've carried from past relationships, the ones that told you you're too much, not enough, too late, or too broken. He replaces them with truth. You are seen, you are whole, and you are not behind. God's love doesn't cover your scars, it calls them beautiful, because every scar tells a story of survival that proves His faithfulness. Healing your self-image means learning to see yourself through heaven's lens. It means accepting that you were not created to chase love. You were created to reflect it. It means standing in front of the mirror and no longer seeing rejection, but redemption. You realize that your worth is not a negotiation, it's a revelation. And as your view of yourself begins to heal, so does your view of love. You no longer crave someone to fix you, because you understand that only God can fill the gaps that people never could. The love He's preparing for you will not need to convince you of your value. It will recognize it. This is why God takes His time, because when you finally see yourself through His eyes, you'll stop chasing validation and start attracting alignment. The healed heart doesn't beg to be chosen. It simply becomes impossible to overlook. Before God brings you the person meant to walk beside you, He brings you back to the reason you walk at all. The reunion with purpose is the divine moment when you stop asking, "Where is my person?" and start asking, "What was I created to do?" Because love that comes before purpose becomes distraction, but love that flows from purpose becomes destiny. God realigns you by reminding you of the dreams you once buried, the passions you silenced while trying to fit into someone else's story. He calls you back to the work that makes your spirit come alive, the mission that carries your fingerprint. You begin to realize that the more you chase your calling, the closer you move to the one who's been chasing theirs. Divine alignment doesn't happen through searching, it happens through becoming. This reunion with purpose changes everything. It shifts your prayers from "send me someone" to "shape me for someone." It transforms waiting into worship. You stop sitting in frustration and start walking in faith, trusting that God will let your paths cross when your assignments complement, not compete. When your heart is anchored in calling, your standards rise naturally. You no longer entertain what distracts you, because anything that pulls you from your purpose is too small for your destiny. You understand that the right person will not complete your purpose. They will confirm it. Their presence won't redirect you. It will remind you. And this is where divine love takes root. Two people, fully alive in their purpose, walking side by side in God's will, not out of need, but out of alignment. This is why He couldn't let you meet too soon. Your mission wasn't mature yet. So, if you feel alone, look inward. The waiting season may be your preparation for impact. God is not withholding love, He's weaving purpose. And when you step into what He called you to do, love will not distract you from it. It will be drawn to it. Purpose attracts what prayer alone cannot. Before God allows you to meet the person meant for your destiny, He awakens your discernment. That quiet, steady voice of the Spirit that teaches you to see beyond appearance and emotion. Because divine love is not recognized by how it looks, but by how it aligns. The heart that once fell for chemistry now learns to seek confirmation. The soul that once chased attention now waits for peace. Discernment is heaven's safeguard against deception. It protects your destiny from distractions dressed as desires. That's why God often lets you face imitation love before revealing the authentic one, so that when it comes, you'll know the difference. You'll learn to recognize what is sent by emotion and what is sent by eternity. The right person won't rush you. They'll reflect the rhythm of grace. This awakening doesn't happen overnight. It's birthed in stillness, sharpened through mistakes and strengthened through solitude. God trains your spirit to sense his no, even when your heart wants to say yes. He teaches you to listen to peace, not pressure. You begin to realize that confusion is not a test to endure, it's a warning to exit. When discernment awakens, attraction no longer blinds you. You begin to look for fruit instead of charm, consistency instead of chemistry. You understand that someone can speak beautifully yet carry chaos, and that peace is the true proof of presence. God shows you that discernment isn't suspicion, it's sensitivity to his spirit. And when the right person appears, your discernment will recognize them before your eyes do. It won't feel like, in fireworks, it will feel like clarity. You won't have to question it, chase it, or convince yourself of it. The presence of peace will speak louder than any promise. So guard your discernment. It is your compass. Let it guide your heart more than emotion ever could. Because when your discernment is awakened, you no longer fall in love blindly. You walk in love wisely. Comment: I will wait for God's confirmation. There is a holy rhythm to everything God does, and love is one of his most delicate symphonies. Long before two souls meet, heaven is already tuning every detail, timing, growth, purpose, and maturity, so that when the moment arrives, it feels like divine inevitability. You may think the delay means God has forgotten you, but alignment takes time. He is not just preparing your partner, he is preparing you to meet them without losing yourself. God's perfect timing is never rushed because it's never random. The wait refines you. It removes what would have made the blessing a burden. Every unanswered prayer is a seed of timing being planted beneath the soil of trust. You can't see it growing, but faith reminds you that what God hides, he is still handling. In this season, he aligns circumstances, restores confidence, and resets priorities. He heals the places that fear commitment, the patterns that mistake chaos for passion, and the impulses that chase what isn't ready. You may not realize it, but heaven is orchestrating a collision between two callings, not just two hearts. And here is the truth few understand. When it's God's time, nothing will feel forced. Doors will open without you knocking. Conversations will flow without effort. You'll feel peace in moments that used to bring anxiety. What once required striving will unfold naturally because grace doesn't struggle, it synchronizes. If God allowed love to come too soon, you might have ruined what was meant to restore. So he waits until your heart beats in harmony with his will. When that happens, you'll see that what felt like delay was actually design. The perfect timing of God isn't about convenience, it's about capacity. When both hearts are ready, love becomes a ministry, not a distraction. And you'll thank him for every no, every pause, every season of silence that shaped you for this divine yes. And then, almost quietly, it happens. Not with lightning or thunder, but with peace so deep it silences every fear. The moment you've been waiting for, the revelation of the love God promised, arrives not as a rescue but as recognition. It doesn't start with sparks, it starts with stillness. You realize that the person standing before you isn't here to complete your life, but to complement the work God already completed within you. Divine love does not interrupt your purpose, it aligns with it. You'll know it's from God because it doesn't pull you out of his presence. It pushes you deeper into it. The right person will not compete with your calling, they'll confirm it. Their love won't demand your surrender to them, it will inspire your surrender to him. This is how heaven writes love stories, through partnership, not possession. The revelation comes when both souls are ready, healed, humbled, and holy enough to carry what God is entrusting to them. Every heartbreak before this one becomes a sacred teacher, every delay a divine setup. You'll look back and understand why nothing else worked, because this was never meant to be built in haste, but in harmony. When you meet them, there will be no confusion, no anxiety, no need to prove your worth. You'll find peace in their presence because it will echo the peace of God's timing. Their words will feel like home, not because of what they promise, but because of what they confirm. You will see in their eyes the reflection of every prayer you whispered in the dark, answered in flesh and grace, and then you'll know this love isn't random, it's redemptive. It's not about finding someone perfect, but about finding someone purposeful. The revelation of promised love is the final evidence that heaven heard you all along. You won't cry the same tears anymore. There'll be tears of recognition, of gratitude, because now you see what God was doing in the silence, the isolation, and the waiting. He wasn't delaying you, he was developing destiny. When divine love finally arrives, you realize it was never meant to be the destination. It was the continuation of everything God had already begun in you. The relationship becomes an extension of purpose, not an escape from it. You no longer see love as the reward for waiting, but as the platform where faith and destiny intertwine. The waiting, the breaking, the silence, all of it was preparation for this partnership designed in heaven. True love from God doesn't consume your calling, it collaborates with it. It doesn't ask you to forget who you are, it reminds you who you were created to be. Together, you and your partner don't just build a life, you build legacy. You learn that divine alignment isn't about perfection, but partnership under purpose. It's not two people finding each other, it's two missions converging into one movement. This kind of love is ministry. It prays before it plans, listens before it speaks, forgives before it fights. It carries grace into every room, peace into every storm, and purpose into every moment. You both understand that your connection is not coincidence, it's covenant. You are not just lovers. You are leaders of light in a world that has forgotten what love rooted in faith looks like. When you live in this kind of union, the ordinary becomes sacred, the daily becomes divine. Your relationship becomes a mirror that reflects heaven's patience, mercy, and joy. And when people see you together, they see what it looks like when God writes a story, not rushed, not fragile, but faithful. You finally understand that God didn't just prepare a person for you, He prepared you for partnership. And in that realization, you no longer strive for love, you steward it. Because the greatest relationships aren't built on feelings, they're built on faith that never stops growing. If this message spoke to your spirit, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next word heaven has for you. Leave a comment of gratitude. Thank God for aligning your heart with His purpose. And remember, real love is not the end of your journey. It's the proof that you've been walking in the right direction all along.